Oh, there it is.
Welcome. It's our second live panel of the day, and we're going to be talking about the Moschino show. So it's a really fun show, and I have a very fun and incredibly colourful panel with me. I feel really shit in my black. I wish I was wearing something bright, but I'll let you guys tell everyone who you are.
Okay, well, I'm Kim Howells, I'm a stylist.
I'm Amber Butchart. I'm a fashion historian and a lecturer at London College of Fashion.
I'm Fred Butler and I'm an accessories designer.
Forgot who you were.
I'm Anna Trevelyan and I'm a stylist.
And I'm Richard Mortimer and I'm the editor of Pony Step magazine.
Anna, you're wearing Moschino, so tell me a little bit, why do you love what they do?
I just love Moschino because it's like really fun and playful and irreverent, and I feel like they just want to have fun with clothes, and I just love this suit. It's my favourite outfit. Yeah. I was saying earlier, it's my favourite outfit I've ever bought, ever. I found it in Tokyo in the back of a vintage store, and I've worn it so many times, and I just don't feel like I can wear it too often, but now it's the perfect excuse. I'm really happy.
Break it back out.
Should make it your signature look.
Yeah,
really
it's wear every day.
And it's pink, so it's perfect.
Perfect. I want to talk a bit about the whole vintage Moschino thing, because obviously when you were working at Beyond Retro, did you notice a point where demand really increased, or was it always a case that people came in to try and get old Moschino pieces, or was there kind of a point where it kind of became a thing?
No, I think it was always, like, Moschino is always one of the labels that people, especially this sort of Beyond Retro customer, would look for, because it's so fun and so bright and so playful, and I think that Beyond Retro kind of encapsulates that quite well, that kind of fun side of vintage. I mean, they do the sort of, 50s prom dresses and classic vintage and a lot of workwear and stuff as well, but I think it's more about the sort of just fun and rummaging and finding that real, like, fun piece that you can just go to town with. So it's, always
There was the 90s resurgence recently with the jeans, with the patterns and the shirts,
Yeah.
The branding as well, everyone loves the Moschino word. All over your clothes, not
but
all
I
over your
think
jeans.
also as well with Moschino, it's the thing that it's never seasonal. It's just like it's so almost timeless. And I think that's why people really like finding the vintage pieces, because they could be from last season, or they could be from 20 years ago.
I'm interested, we mentioned that kind of, Anna, you said everyone loves the name, everyone loves the logo, because we've been thinking a lot recently about kind of logos coming back, and we thought a bit after the men's when we saw that Christopher Shannon was doing it and Sean Sampson, all with those big slogans, and I was thinking about why that feels really now. And I know, like, as you say, vintage Moschino has always been a thing, but it feels really, really relevant right now given how many people are doing those big names. Why is that kind of cropped up again? Kim, why do you think slogans are back? Or anyone can answer if they know, because that's a really hard question to pin on to Kim.
I don't know why they're back. I think people are just like quite into graphics at the moment, and I think like good graphics printed looks cool. So,
and text especially, isn't it? Like, there's something about text. I mean, it plays into the sort of the like never-ending 80s resurgence. Obviously, there's a lot of Catherine Hamnett at the V&A exhibition that we were just talking about as well, and then even the Henry Holland stuff from a few years ago. I think it's always just kind of fun, isn't it? That kind of text.
it's quite energetic. So I think if people kind of want to express themselves, it's quite a good way of doing it.
I think with the streetwear trend of the moment and stuff, like streetwear and logos and branding kind of go hand in hand, so it's quite it's quite obvious that might
Come
be a
back.
trend.
What are your thoughts on it, Richard? You're staying quiet.
I mean, I just think that I find it a bit weird when people say that it is a trend, because I feel like it's almost so omnipresent that it's almost not a trend, because it's always there, and it's, be it streetwear, sportswear, people are always wearing branded stuff. And
But I think to see really young designers do it as like a design feature, that felt quite, perhaps trend is the wrong word, but that felt quite new, that felt, especially on the men's, it seemed I remember other journalists at the shows being like, it almost seemed quite bizarre to see a brand that really wasn't established doing it. So it was being done as a design feature, not as branding in a typical sense. Because like, I know within fashion, and we all know who Sean Sampson is, but very few people are going to walk along the street and people are like, oh, he's wearing Sean Sampson. So it felt more like a design statement than a branding exercise, if that makes sense. And I guess I'm not, maybe that Anna's point about the streetwear thing, that's kind of, it does make sense that logos go hand in hand with that, but I'm just kind of interested why designers are finding it something exciting to play with now.
I think it probably is that 90s thing that's
Yeah.
come around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like everyone just hits on the same thing at the same time. You don't know it's going to happen, and then you see what everyone else is doing, and that's...
Why are the 90s back so much?
Tumblr.
Yeah?
Like the
Right.
answer to everything, Tumblr.
Yeah.
Everyone's over the 80s.
I think it just depends what generation you're in.
Essentially.
It's when you grew up, it's what you carry on to when you become someone yourself, so it's just the generations. That's the new generation that are making things.
There's quite
That's
often
The timing.
that thing of like 20 or 30 years later. Like I remember in the 90s when I was a teenager and I was obsessed with the 70s. And I used to go to charity shops and like try and get flares and those like really garish patterned shirts, really garish patterned shirts, and things like that. And it's kind of those, like, I guess it's that 20 and then 30 year time frame. People start kind of getting reinterested.
What happens 20 years from now? We're going to regurgitate the noughties version of the 90s.
I would-
What are we in?
yeah.
That's not even the
Exactly.
noughties, is it?
How do you-
The teenies?
Yeah, what do you say? But I always think about this actually. I'm always like, what would be like the defining things from our, you know, you can pick it out from the 80s, you can pick it out, and I always wonder what it would be. I think it's really hard to tell when you're living in it, because
I think you can't
especially
tell
when you
until
work in
later,
fashion. But I always think about that. What are the best bits of the 90s? What do we like seeing from the 90s? What do you want to shoot that's 90s-ish, Richard?
What
What do you want to put in Pony Step?
that people are doing now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one. You've put me on the spot there.
Or what are your favourite 90s-ish things? I'll broaden it out.
I mean, sort of like the hot pants and like the big shoes and, you know, the Spice Girls and all that kind of the fun stuff.
Yeah.
I would say that I gravitate much more towards that kind of 90s aesthetic than I would towards a grunge
aesthetic. And
You know, very much more pop culture, fun.
Yeah, we probably all agree with
I mean,
that.
we're all here not in agreement with it.
I mean, that's not to say that, you know, we don't owe a massive amount of respect to the grunge movement and all of that, and we do feature it in a certain way, but I think on a personal level, I like it, you know, all singing, all dancing.
Yeah.
Happy.
It's almost garish, and I think there's something quite cool about that.
I'm really interested that you say the word fun, because that's one thing I wanted to talk about, which is kind of fun and subversiveness, which is a word you said at the start, Anna, and kind of irony in fashion, because obviously that's really key to the Moschino DNA, especially looking back at sort of what Franco Moschino did and how it was about kind of taking the piss out of the fashion industry and about high fashion. And is that really important that there are people like that doing that, and are there enough people doing that at the moment?
I think it's really important. I think like fashion should be about fun, expressing yourself, trying different things, experimenting, and like I'm really happy that designers like that exist. There can be more of them, definitely, but I think there's a lot of them, and that makes everything exciting. It makes like our ability to dress and choose different clothes more interesting, and he did it really well.
Yeah.
I think it's the most difficult thing to do, to make something that's comical, because it could be misinterpreted and look stupid, so you have to be doubly articulate in the way you do it so that it looks good. Like John Charles Casterback and all those people, that's why they should get credit, because they're actually being brave to do something.
Do you try and make things that are witty, and is that something you find really hard?
I think you can't help what you do naturally, and I always make things that are a bit stupid.
Bit
There's no
playful.
other way you can do it. So this is what comes out. But yeah, it is difficult to make it
That's
be
okay,
taken
that line
seriously,
between
because you're earnest in it, but it comes out a bit funny.
yeah.
But I think there's a big difference between making things that you said are comical to actually producing a collection that is just slightly more tongue-in-cheek and made with a sense of humour rather than comical pieces. Because I think, you know, I look at Versace and I think she must be having such a laugh making that collection, but it's not a comical collection. And it's the same with people like D Squared. It's like I look at what they do and you just think, oh my god, it's so ridiculous but amazing. And it's funny, but it's not comical. And I think, you know, Moschino have that amazing balance of producing things that do make you laugh, but at the same time, it is proper fashion.
How is that achieved? Is it because the shapes are quite traditional and the techniques are very good? How is that kind of balance achieved?
I think it's just well considered. Through the whole branding, through everything. Like the windows are always amazing, aren't they?
And the campaigns,
and
the styling.
It's just like,
if you take it piece by piece, it's not necessarily like, not each piece is like tongue-in-cheek. I think it's like a whole thing together. It's a story that they create and it works really well.
You said you shoot, oh sorry.
I think it's just true to who Franco was, you know, like as an artist, and the brand's just pure to him, and that was his kind of attitude, and that comes across, like Anna said, as the brand as a whole.
So do you think Rossella Giardini's kept that really well? Do you think?
Yeah. And I think it's really amazing, like, as his kind of assistant, that she took that role, and that you know, someone who was so close to him continued it, makes it, you know, more pure and real. And I think that's where the aesthetic comes from. They weren't trying to be something. He just did, you know, fine art, that's what he's into, and he just did what he enjoyed, and I think that really comes across.
I think one thing that's really interesting is why it felt so kind of subversive at the time. I don't know if, I'm going to turn to you as our historical expert, but can you talk to me a little bit about what he did and why it felt so sort of different doing something, you know, whether it was the slogans, whether it was the subversiveness, whether it was the removing himself from the kind of big fashion industry. What was it that was so exciting about it?
Well, I think at the time that he started doing it, it was a time where fashion really became properly big business. At that point in the 80s, and obviously you had the sort of, you know, the birth of the power suit, you had this whole kind of explosion of corporate culture, and so then it kind of, in a way, it kind of was almost a reaction to that, seemed like a reaction to that, to be doing something so subversive and something that was so far away from a sort of like, you know, very conservative Middle England twin set and pearls look, or a sort of power suit look. I think that's kind of that's what which kind of played into a lot of the sort of it's funny, like with these like Italian designers like that have that real element of fun and slight subversiveness. I think it really chimes with London fashion, strangely. Like that's those kind of themes, again going back to that Club to Catwalk exhibition at the V&A. It's kind of all similar, that kind of subversive, fun, real celebration, colourful, that all of those kind of elements.
Anna, you said you shoot it a lot. Why? And you said you shoot a lot of the current stuff. What is it about it that makes it so?
I don't know, I just love I mean, like my personal style and aesthetic is usually like very colourful and bold and playful and fun and tongue-in-cheek anyway, so it's just kind of the perfect brand for me. And I love to see girls dressed in Moschino because it's fun, and I get sick of seeing like jeans and beige things. I have no interest in it, so I'd rather just dress them in something that I find fun.
Well, we've been talking about fun and why it's so important in fashion. Why is it that you gravitate towards doing things that are fun? Is it just because, like, what is it? Why do you love doing that?
I think it's just natural. It's just instinctive. That's just my aesthetic.
So do you approach, when you're styling, do you want to try and make the girls look beautiful, or is it never really about
beauty?
That?
No, beauty is not necessarily important to me, but strong, like strength and individual, and like a personal style, like a female strong attitude is important to me, and I think beauty is within that. I don't think what everyone's idea of beauty is would necessarily be the same as my idea of beauty.
That's really interesting. What's your, does your approach similar?
It's similar. It's, you know, I think I like fun, loud, I like prints, I like strong colours, I like big graphic shapes, I like cool silhouettes, and I like just being a bit experimental and just having fun. And the same, like, I like girls to look interesting, and what I find beautiful, like Anna said, other people might not find beautiful. So, but again, I like my girls, similar to Anna actually, to be, you know, in control. You know, they're celebrating, they're not being you know, weak.
Inanimate as well.
Yeah.
Inanimate's a really interesting word actually when you think of a brand like Moschino, because it feels like if you're wearing something from a Moschino collection, you never could be inanimate. You know, there's always an element of choice in it because it's so sort of, even if you look at what Anna's wearing, you know, there's such a kind of, you've put that on, you've decided to make that statement.
Yeah.
Is that kind of, I'm interested in that.
I think it takes certain girls to wear Moschino, you know, you need I find you need like a cool attitude, or you're a bit dareish, or you don't care, or you just, you've got something, you know, you want to dress up, you want to look good, you want to feel good, and you want to stand out, or you just don't care. I like that. It's attractive. So whether it's like in shoots or whether it's like in real life and people shopping, it's cool.
I think if you think of the Moschino girl, like I just imagine this beautiful girl and she's like sexy and having fun and like drinking with her friends, and maybe she has like lipstick over her face or something and she's just like fabulous. That's how
I think it says a lot as well about girls when you see them wearing Moschino. You read a lot into it because you look at them and you think, I kind of know what kind of girl you are. You know what you're talking about. You know about fashion. You're not following the same trends as everybody else, but at the same time you want to feel modern. And it's funny when you see girls wearing it. It says an awful lot. I think.
Do you think it is a kind of an insider's brand? Because you said you know that.
I think so. Absolutely. But I think what is nice is like quite often you can see people wearing it on the street and stuff, and nobody will think twice. You know, Joe Bloggs on the street, they'll just think, oh well, that's a nice jacket, or that's nice. But that sort of knowing look when you walk past and you're like, oh yeah.
So it's kind of like a form of intelligent fashion in a sense, because it's like speaks to some people in a certain way and other people in a different way.
Well, I think, yeah, absolutely. I think because sometimes, well, it's so out there and in your face that some people, again, you know, the general public would probably think, oh God, that's a bit much. But then I think people that understand the brand, they just get it. They just get it.
I asked that because I think it's interesting, because Anna and I were talking about Prada before we went live, and I think it's interesting because I feel like we're seeing quite a lot of that at the moment, something that you wear and people would react to in a certain way, but then there's almost like a second level to it, which is the understanding of what that item is or what that represents. And I think the Prada collections are kind of doing a similar thing to what you just described. You know, if you saw a woman, if Joe Bloggs saw a woman in one of those coats with the faces, they'd probably be like, whoa, like that's a really interesting coat, that's a really strange coat. But then people who knew about fashion, and I think that's quite an interesting, like a new insider's way of fashion. Maybe that's what that whole print thing was as well, that kind of thing of, it looks really great, but then there's a second level to it of everyone knowing the designer it's by. I don't know, did you find the girls that came in to buy Moschino from Beyond Retro, did they have a kind of a fashion knowledge? Or was it more a shape? Would they always come in being like, was it like a fashion knowledge that drove it?
I don't think so, no. I think it was more about print, more about the sort of 90s revival that we talked about, more about people just looking for really standout items that were just really good fun. I know we keep saying fun all the time, but I think that's more what it was. I mean, some people would have seen the label obviously and recognised it and either bought it for that reason or bought it, you know, would have bought it anyway, but it was an added bonus. But I think in general people are just looking for something, just kind of a standout piece. And Moschino really has that about it.
Talking about the standout stuff, I want to talk a little bit about their accessories, obviously, because you have Fred here, but I think, again, it's another thing that's just become such a kind of a cult. Do you look at their accessories for kind of inspiration? Do you find them exciting? You mentioned the windows before, and I remember our old studios.
That's the main thing.
I used to walk past them every day to work.
Oh, yeah.
What do you like about what they do?
I never look at the accessories specifically to say. Millinery, however. Yeah, they always do really good hats, don't they? Yeah, that goes with the concept. So, yeah, whether it's a Stetson or a Matador hat, yeah.
Was it one of the labels when you were sort of getting into fashion that you'd look at?
No, I didn't, but I think it was there subconsciously. In that whole 90s things with the trousers with the repeat pattern and the high waist and the belt, the gold.
I like that, it's there subconsciously, it's like it just seeped into your style. I do want to talk a little bit, because like, we've talked a lot about fun, but I think there is like another slight element to Moschino, which is that kind of real sort of statement element that wasn't always about fun. Often it was subversive to the point of making quite a strong sort of social comment. And I was wondering, do you think that's really important in fashion, that also that there are designers who are willing to kind of take issue with things, or again, maybe this is the club to catwalk still in my brain because I've just been there looking at all the stuff, but is it important to have designers who are willing to sort of take an issue and make a comment with their clothes?
Well, you've got that platform, so you may as well use it if there's something.
Doesn't feel like it's being used that much at the moment. I don't know.
Because everyone's terrified and being safe. That's
Vivian's
why
never
it's
off that
boring.
soapbox. How can you say that?
Yeah, apart from Vivian though, are we seeing?
She's doing it for everyone.
Yeah, she is, with enough vigour.
And that's actually something that I think Miuccia Prada does really, really well, because she does it in a way that's not in your face. She does it in a really subtle way. She'll quite often have like some kind of issue at heart, like this one, you know, she said it was kind of all about feminism, and she obviously has a very political background herself, and I think the way that she brings that into her designs without making it the most important thing about her designs is incredibly clever. It's
That's
really
interesting.
clever.
So you think today it's more exciting to see it done in a slightly more subtle way, not just a kind of a slogan or something?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's definitely more interesting than a slogan. I mean, obviously it's not as obvious, and if you just saw someone in a street in that, you wouldn't get the message from it. But from a conceptual viewpoint, I find that more interesting.
I think going on to talk about Mrs. Prada, I think she does so much through the Fondazione Prada, and I think that's how she gets a lot of her messages across as well. And I think I just think it's a much cleverer way and less offensive way of doing it.
That's interesting to say less offensive. So do you think there's almost something to kind of about high fashion being used as a kind of, is there an inherent kind of contradiction in?
I mean, I just think everything in fashion is a contradiction. I mean, you just need to look at all those like pizza campaigns and stuff, all that anti-fur thing. Like one minute they'll have a spokesperson representative being like, we're really anti-fur, we'd rather go naked. The next minute they're walking down the runway head to toe. That's just one example, but I just think there's so much hypocrisy in this industry.
And I think it really depends what issues people are taking up as well. Like a lot of Vivienne Westwood's real anti-consumerist issues obviously strike a chord with a lot of people, because they're kind of like, how can you know, I think it was like Susie Minkes or someone one season said, how can you sell like a diamond safety pin for thousands of pounds and then do this collection that's all about sort of anti-consumerism? So I think it kind of depends. I think there is space for you to have a platform for issues or for some kind of political motivation, but I think it depends which, and it depends how you go about it. Someone like Ada Zanderton actually often has ecological issues at the heart of her design, and she does it really, really well. She's worked with a lot of charities. I think you have to be active. If you're like, you can't just create a slogan T-shirt. You have to actively like work with a movement, work with a charity for it to have any kind of real impact, I think.
I was wondering a bit about when Henry Holland did all those amazing T-shirts, whether that was kind of the end of slogans being used for anything that wasn't just about fashion, because I think like Henry's stuff was amazing, but it seemed to be like no one's ever going to say anything important with the slogan. It's just going to be kind of fashion from now on. And I don't know, what do you think, Kim? Do you think that designers are still championing issues enough, or has it all just become about the clothes and the fashion?
I think, like Fred said, the platforms are there, so people could use them more. But I think it shouldn't be used like aggressively. You know, it doesn't have to be like slogans on T-shirts, and I think consumers become a bit numb to that. So I think if the way to do it is to be intelligent, and you know, it doesn't have to be shouted out loud. It can just be like subtle, and if people are on the inside of that brand, they're going to know. Like people who care enough will know. So I think it would be nice if there was a bit more of it, if people felt strongly, and people should feel a bit more confident to be more outspoken, but just keep the balance right.
I guess it's quite an interesting example of someone like Roxanne Dillenchip, because her clothes obviously don't make a statement, but she's got an all-female team. She uses a lot of sort of strong women as her inspirations. But again, we're not seeing stuff coming down the catwalk that's kind of shouting that. It's just
but it's everything that goes into it, and I think people know that, and that makes a statement in itself. So I think it doesn't have to be kind of loud and written there your thoughts, but there's many ways that you can kind of attach yourself to your beliefs and still get it out there.
I don't even know if there's like enough time for people to absorb the messages though.
That's
like sometimes when I'm like seeing collections, I'm just like looking, because it's so fast and you're thinking about this and that, and you know, everything's like running so quickly. I'm not even really absorbing what they're trying to say with that collection a lot of the time. So I feel like probably I miss quite a lot of stuff unless I actually go to the show and like read the press release and read the story behind it. Maybe if someone wanted to make more of a political message and it was slightly more obvious, people might pick up on what they're trying to say a bit more. Because it's nice to know that, you know, everything that goes into it and behind it has a political message, but I didn't know that about Roxander.
I didn't know that about Roxander either.
Oh, I'm Roxander's spokeswoman. No, but I think that's what's great about Roxander. She's got this kind of quiet strength about what she does, and you know, I think that's just really inherent to Roxander. Like, women are really important to her, and
that's really interesting.
Yeah,
she does that.
Yeah, and she, you know, she's like, her baby wear is all inspired by her little daughter, and I think that it's just really authentic when she does it. Maybe that's why we don't know about it, because I don't even think she does it in a remotely sort of PR way. I think I'm sure she'd hire a guy if she felt like I'm sure she probably has men that she works with, but it's really authentic to her. Like, she just likes working with girls. Yeah, she's pretty awesome. I love Roxander, so shout out to her. She's amazing. What's your take on all of this, Richard, on kind of political? I think Anna's point there is really interesting about the pace of fashion and how that's stopped people from being able to make a statement, whether that's politically, but I think also sometimes aesthetically. Like, the pace is just so strong at the moment. It's so much harder to kind of make a splash. Like, that really struck me at that V&A thing. I was walking around being like, this was so amazing, and it got me thinking, could someone do something that was so kind of revolutionary now, because people are showing so much and there's not time.
There's no time.
I mean, I get a little bored with it, I have to be honest. It's hard enough just keeping up with everybody's collections without having things rammed down your throat. I mean, it's hard enough even just remembering what people have done. When you're going to shows back to back every day, you almost stop seeing that, and you go in a professional capacity, and by the end of the day, you guys know what it's like. You're just thinking, oh well, that's a nice skirt, and that's going to shoot really well, and oh, this is turning into a trend, and you don't really have time to start digesting huge big press releases about this cause and this cause, because then you're on to the next show and then there's another one, and I just find it a little bit hard work sometimes.
Do you think that that's made your job as an editor of a magazine even more challenging in a sense, because do you feel more of a pressure to give people something that's a bit streamlined? Because as you say, there's so much out there, and I think not just for us going to the shows, but I think also to viewers, there's just so much fashion. You know, it's like constant on Instagram, on live streams, on Tumblr that Anna mentioned before. Is that process of editing and putting across like a great statement with a magazine, has that become a bit more challenging with there's so much, or do you feel like you have more freedom because there's so much?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, it's great that there's so much to choose from, but then it's like, what do you choose? It's like, but I think going back to this sort of political course, I think a lot of people, I know this sounds really bad, but a lot of people almost cling on to something, almost hoping that it's going to get them more press. And I think ultimately it does the reverse. People don't quite often don't want to know about that. They want to know what the collections are. Again, going back to Vivienne, you know, there is, you know, really strong beliefs there behind what she does, and you know, particularly the Julian Assange thing and all of that, and
the climate,
and the climate revolution, and you know, it's really obvious that she does really believe in that, and I think when people do have the conviction to do it season after season after season, then but yeah, I'm not a massive fan. I think just do your clothes.
But sometimes I think about this quite a lot, because sometimes I worry that because there's no real right way to do it, I think, because you're right, if people are putting statements out there, given how much we have to see, it can all get a bit lost. But on the other hand, I think when fashion kind of removes itself completely, I think the show's about to start, so I'll say this really quickly, when it removes itself completely from kind of issues, there is a problem slightly that it does become completely removed from what's going on elsewhere. And I found, it's interesting because I found it off the back of that Prada thing where they shot, I can't remember her name, which is really going to annoy me, and they featured like a black model in their campaign. It was the first time for about 17 years. Yeah, and a lot was made of that, but it did make me think, how has no one kind of really said something over that whole time? And I wondered how kind of fashion does become blind to issues, because it's...
Well, Karen Franklin is a great person for that, isn't she? Doing something political and not talking about it for the sake of it. She's actually really making things happen and being proactive and going into schools to get that message across.
I guess for me, I guess the angle that I was really getting at was, I think it takes more than just a slogan T-shirt or a press release.
Yeah. It would take something like not using a black model once every 17 years. That would be in a way more of an interesting statement than a slogan on a T-shirt. Or
Catherine Hamnett's drive to get the industry using organic cotton and no pesticides. And I think people that are actively doing stuff, it means something, but I think when they're just putting out a press release or putting a slogan on a T-shirt, I don't think it's enough.
Maybe there is a new thing, maybe that thing that we're seeing at the moment with some of the young designers with a real focus on trying to make stuff in Britain, maybe that is actually something quite interesting where that's a cause that's being done with real authenticity. I'm interested what's going on with this.
It's so cute.
Yeah, it's really cute. It's making me really nostalgic. I'm interested because, Kim, I asked you if you felt that like Franco Moschino's kind of his DNA has been carried on really, really well by Rossella Jardine. Do you all agree with that? That she's doing a great job? Yeah, cool. I'm not going to have any arguments about that. So what are we expecting to see? Did you guys like what the output we've had from previous seasons? What did you think of all that kind of Highland fling?
I like they always, have their concept, and it's used head to toe, and it's quite tight and it's fun, and it's just kind of like filters smaller, larger. It just appears through the whole. It's like everything about it's considered. So I'm interested to see like what the concept is this time.
Do you never get, because I think some editors at the shows are really like, they don't think it's kind of lofty fashion. Is it important though that we have stuff on the schedule that is just like a bit of light relief?
Yeah.
You go insane without stuff like
that. Life is like, don't make everything so serious.
You should wear clothes to enjoy them at the end of the day.
Have we lost that a bit though? I don't think people do still dress to express themselves or dress to kind of, again, I've really got the club up. Well, you guys clearly do, but I feel like that, I was thinking a lot about kind of what ID in the Face used to do when they first came out. It was all about encouraging people to dress to express themselves. And I think what all magazines do now is tell people what to wear. They kind of instruct people what to put on to kind of fit in. I feel like we've lost a bit of that. Would you guys agree? Do you feel a bit when you're...
Perhaps, I'm just thinking most of my world,
well, hopefully there'll be a
because
backlash.
we're all quite colourful, but maybe outside of that, I can see that happening,
I think a lot of people think they're dressing to express themselves, but they're not. They're just dressing in what they're told is like an individual thing to wear, and putting on this individual persona that they've plucked from all these different places, and it has nothing to do with individuality at all.
I think that's really true. Do you agree with that, Richie? You're nodding away. Yeah.
I mean, especially where we live. Like, is everyone East London here?
Yeah. I'm North London. Yes. I'm North East, so.
But there's just this, they all think they're, young and crazy and kooky, and it's just a bit like, just look like everyone else.
That's so true. I started.
She's got a cow on her skirt. It's a milkmaid.
It's a new meaning to cow print.
He's going to kill me for saying this, but last season Alex Pugh was like, well, that gives a new meaning to Highland rape, which I thought was really...
But what about the soundtrack?
There we go.
This is incredible.
Who's she? She's fab. I love her. Look, that's the Moschino woman I was just talking about. That is her.
It's I Am What I Am.
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
Is that it? I mean, this is incredible.
You spotted that straight away.
Oh yeah.
Oh, amazing.
It's so true. That is the Moschino woman. She is who she is.
Look how happy everyone looks.
Not everyone. There's a few miserable faces.
Oh my god, this
oh
is
my
amazing.
god.
So great.
Oh my god, the teddy bears are back. It's the
Oh my god!
No way! I was just wishing that this would happen, that they did stuff. I'm not even
this
joking.
looks like archive footage. There's a small part of my head that's like, are we even watching the show?
This is like, they did this or something really similar.
This is amazing.
Maybe they're going to bring out all the best of Moschino. It is, you know.
Yeah, it is.
They're doing one thing from like
Is
each
this actually the 30th
history.
show, the 30th anniversary show? Is that what that whole Franco montage is?
Yeah, because we did.
Oh, so maybe they're doing one
yeah.
thing from every season.
This
Who
is
are these
amazing.
women?
So good.
I don't even want to speak anymore. I just want to watch it. I'm like, sorry, viewers.
This
This
is
is
how
amazing.
models should be.
Yeah.
Not just like boom, 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 boom.
But that's what was brilliant about Sibling, that the models went down
Smiling.
like
They were
really
smiling,
happy.
yeah.
It's infectious.
Yeah, it is
Oh
infectious.
my god, this show is amazing. Who are these women?
I don't know.
They
I
must
must
be,
be like
they must be
this.
old Moschino models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my dream
This
show.
is what we're talking about.
Oh my god, we got the best panel this week.
I'm just looking at this and it makes me like, why do other models just walk down looking like they're about to keel over when they could do that?
So good.
Really showing off.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, this is super 90s as well, no? This kind of catwalk.
I want it to continue that
I know.
retrospective bit. I hope the other models come out with that energy
Yeah.
now.
Well, that's what Galliano used to tell his girls to do, didn't he? Couture.
Yeah, he'd give them
He'd
kind of
hype
a
them up and be
story.
like, "You are." Yeah, and then
I
they'd
love when you
feel
watch them because it's almost like they're in a trance because they've been so kind of given that story.
Bad girl. She's cute, that's cute.
I want that bit before to come back.
Yeah.
Oh, so is it like the good and bad? Yeah, bad girl
Yeah.
and good girl.
But I think in a way it's almost sad to have seen that because it does put in perspective how
Yeah.
boring, how lame
Lame
this
a
bit.
runway show is.
Yeah.
I hope it's going to go
I
back
like
to
this
that.
concept though. I like the good and bad girl.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
like that they're sending two at once.
That
Yeah,
must be a
it's
nightmare
good.
backstage.
It's very Hindu appropriate, which I like.
Oh, that in the headlights.
Psychotic.
It's that thing we were saying before of like taking a theme and running with it though, which is
Yeah.
actually it's quite nice.
Croissant
It's a bit of a
roll.
no-brainer.
What is round in it?
It's a croissant.
Is it? Amazing.
Like Judy's fake dog poo, and you say, "Well, I like your necklace," and he goes, "What, this old shit?"
Got her iPhone.
I really think
30 years.
that
30 years.
I really think they should have done the show and then
And then
done that. Yeah, me too.
Maybe they'll do more at the
Something-
end.
Yeah, I think they should all come out
That's
for a big
cute.
party at the end.
It's so nice also to see them.
Is
like,
that
yeah, that's
Jodie
Jodie
Kidd?
Kidd.
Yeah.
Erin.
And was it Erin O'Connor?
It is
Yeah.
Erin, right?
Yeah.
Working it.
This is the best show.
Oh,
Oh,
It's so nice also to see a brand like really celebrating its their, doing
Yeah.
something that's kind of.
oh my god.
Oh.
What do we think of the actual clothes that we're seeing?
I like it.
Yeah.
And it's classic Moschino with the
Yeah.
monochrome.
Exactly.
Like very monochrome. It's also got a lot of 90s with the chains and the
Yeah.
chains, isn't it? Like lapel-less jackets and stuff.
I bet there's such a good atmosphere at that show.
yeah, I bet.
Oh, I like the red.
Oh, that's so pretty.
Cute.
I love the kind of like the really hard hair and then the really soft
Yeah.
next to it. It's really cute.
The soundtrack's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like club
amazing.
classics for a Saturday night. You can all go out and
Yeah.
party after.
I like those little headbands.
It looks like those really bad magazines that like do like day to night, like how to
Yeah.
style your makeup. And it reminds me of those.
This morning,
It's like the one on the right is at work and the one on the left.
The
is
pearls, the gold hoops.
Like, like sling on a slaggy belt and you're ready to go. I think it's such a good time because we haven't done a Moschino panel before, and it just feels really a right time for a brand like this, just because of that 90s thing that we've all talked about.
I think Moschino is one of my favourite brands.
Yeah, me
ever.
too. It's so good.
Like, it's in my top 3 ever. Definitely.
But I think it's very kind of dismissed, I think, sometimes by kind of more serious sort of fashion publications. It's seen as really kind of not making a intellectual fashion statement in any way. You know, it's one of those ones that everyone's... I don't know why I felt...
I think if people love it, they love it.
Yeah.
Like, you can see it in them when they start talking about the brand.
But why do fashion brands have to make an intellectual fashion statement?
Yeah.
Can't we just appreciate good clothes?
Yeah.
I love that jacket.
But I think maybe a bit of a pressure of that is the pace thing, going back to what Anna said, of like, it's not even about the clothes really anymore, it's about making a statement. Like, that's what, as we were all saying, you know, we see so much, it's hard to remember what people have done, so there's even more of a pressure to make a statement. So I feel like we're driving that thing about everything has to be sort of cerebral in some way. It can't just be like nice clothes.
That swimsuit is
She
out of
looks like
control.
Chanel.
It's stayed so true to the brand though.
Yeah.
Like Richard said earlier, it's such a timeless brand.
I just really wish I was wearing bigger earrings.
You've got your safety pin.
Yeah, I've got my little safety pins. B&A special.
I'm definitely going on the more darker side of the Moschino girl. That's
that
sexy.
skirt's amazing.
So
though.
good.
I love the hands.
Do you guys agree with what Richard said though? Fashion doesn't always need to be kind of lofty, making a big statement. Like, do you think there's too much of a focus on that? As to be a good designer, you have to have this intellectual side to your work. You can't just make beautiful clothes.
I think people should just have more fun. Just make things that they believe in and enjoy, and it'll come across. So
it's not always about the designer either, it's about the people wearing it. It's the statement you make when you're wearing it and how you put it together.
What's going to happen now? Please all come back out.
Yeah, please come back.
It's quite amazing to see their good and bad though, and how they can do such beautiful chic kind of like powdered dresses and then the kind of naughty girl.
Yeah.
I think that's really clever because there's completely different markets and they've still nailed both. Oh, I'm so excited.
This is the best thing I've ever seen.
So good.
And we're not even there.
To be fair, it's a really good stream though, with the way they went in on all the accessories and stuff. Oh my god, what's going to happen?
And you didn't crash it.
I know, thank god.
Oh, it's going to be fabulous.
This is going to be amazing.
Oh my god, what's happening?
Who is that?
Is it Justin
Is it
Brown?
Raining Men? No.
I don't know. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
This is incredible.
Everyone's standing up. That's amazing.
Oh, that is so
Oh my god, no way.
I would cry if I was there.
I've
I would
got
definitely cry. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh, amazing.
Anna, you look really moved.
I'm so happy. I would definitely cry. I'm like struggling not to.
But it just makes me really sad because it makes me really nostalgic, and it makes me just like fashion today is so shit.
This is incredible.
We are so happy.
Oh, that jacket.
Oh, that's so
is
good.
everything. It's so funny because I was flicking through my Moschino book before I came, and this is all the looks that I was just looking at.
These women are amazing. I just want them to be on every catwalk.
I know.
Forever.
It's a spectacle and event,
Imagine them
isn't
in
it?
Celine.
They're
It would
just
be
so
amazing.
happy and so like full of life and so not what you're used to seeing.
This is really the statement that this brand needed to make.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true, actually. They're kind of reclaiming, and accepting all that criticism. Yes, we are about fun. We are about joy.
But you know that every single magazine editor, fashion editor that's at the show is going to be talking about only this show.
Yeah.
It's really celebrating all women as well.
It's really brave when people like this.
I wish more people were this diverse in their casting. I love that jacket so much. That's one of my favourite ever pieces. That's one of my favourite ever Moschino pieces.
I want to dress like that every day.
Do it.
Wait, I want to see this look. This is double iconic now.
Oh my god, this is amazing.
I love her.
That's definitely the first and only time someone on one of these panels is going to be wearing something that's actually
so
on the
good.
catwalk.
I think this is the first time everyone on the panel is going. I feel really sorry for Neil with his headphones on when he just got all the lights looking at. Oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever.
I know, my heart is like this. So cute. Oh my god, she's got the bag on.
Oh my god, amazing.
So good.
I'm like genuinely filled with joy.
She's fab. Oh my god.
Did you see that?
Oh, where's the rubber dogs?
Wow. Is it like the quietest panel you've ever had? Because we're all just like,
I don't even mind.
I think I can ever do another panel again after this.
Yeah, I know, it's the best thing
Sorry.
ever. Happy
I don't have anything to
30th,
say.
Philo.
so good.
This is
This is fashion.
this is fashion. I think this is why we're all in the industry for moments like this.
I just don't have any words. This is the first time this has ever happened to me.
Amazing. I love it because I feel like I'm getting to experience something that everyone is.
So cute.
Oh my gosh.
I'm actually emotional.
Yeah, I am. That was amazing.
Everyone should stand up.
All our mics will get disconnected. Neil will cry.
I would definitely be standing up if I was there. I'd be like screaming.
Yeah.
I think I would definitely be crying.
Yeah.
But crying not in an annoying fashion is so fabulous way, just in a fashion really fun way.
Just in
Yeah.
a thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky to have seen this.
Yeah, exactly. Which I don't think not to be rude to any of the amazing designers that are showing at the moment, but I don't think anyone leaves shows now going, I'm so lucky to have witnessed that.
Sometimes. But
It's very rare, that's why everyone got so excited with Medium Kirchhoff, with Prada, that there's not that thing of wanting to go to every show because you don't quite know how you're going to feel when you leave it. I feel like it's such a shame.
They're having so much fun.
But it's just so
Super
uplifting,
babe.
and that's
Yeah.
you just don't get that at so
what
many
are
shows.
That's amazing.
Oh, please get up and dance with the audience. That would be so
That'd be
amazing.
so good.
Like the end of Dirty Dancing.
They just all look like they're having the best time.
3 rounds of applause. Oh my god.
I want to see
I love
Anna sing
Moschino even
again.
more now. That's it. It's in my top 1 brands.
Is that the best thing we've all ever
Yeah, definitely. And quite possibly the campist.
seen? Definitely the campus.
So great. She's not.
I love the baguettes.
Oh, oops.
I love they're just genuinely having so much fun.
No.
I mean, it's even
Oh,
it's
look,
a bit
and everyone's-
shambolic.
everyone's-
Even, isn't it? They're having so much fun.
Everyone's
Look, everyone's running back. Oh, I didn't want it to end.
That was so good.
So good.
Yay, Moschino.
Oh, that was amazing. I feel like there's not much else we can really say. Tell me,
I'm so
why
happy
did
that
make
we've
us all so happy?
experienced it like this on a
The word
panel.
uplifting that you said, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
On
And
that
just
note,
celebratory.
Yes,
gonna get on the
yes. Let's just say happy 30th.
happy 30th, Moschino.
Thank you so much, guys. I just don't think we have anything else to say.
Well, I think the message is wear what you want to wear, because it's about enjoying your day through the clothes you choose in the morning. So let that inspire everyone to stop being so
Boring.
uptight.
It's just so inclusive as well, though, you know, where fashion consistently gets criticised for being so exclusive and so elitist and so kind of holier than thou, and then that, and you're just like, it's just like a big party.
Just wear what you
everyone's
want and
amazing,
feel
everyone's having
fabulous.
such a good time. Yeah.
And I think behave how you want as well. It says,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I think the soundtrack says it all. No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
we are what we
everything.
are. I am what I am. It's amazing.
So good.
I love that you spotted that straight away.
Yeah,
First step out, and you were like, great song.
How do we all feel now? Just really uplifted.
Yes,
Really?
so
Yeah.
happy.
I feel like I want to go and have like a disco and wear
Yeah.
like loads of glitter. Ooh, look.
I think what you just said, Fred, is so true, that it kind of just smacks down all the kind of criticism of the brand, but also criticism that comes at fashion of not being fun, of not being inclusive, of not being accepting. That was just the most kind of joyous. I just want more of that.
Me too.
I would have
But do you know
loved to
what?
have
If
been-
every show was like that, it'd be so overwhelming that you wouldn't even appreciate it anymore.
You
So it's
wouldn't want
good
to
to
go.
have like the little gems that do it.
Do we think this is what everyone's going to be talking about?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I definitely hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I feel like I'm just lost for words. So let's just give a cheers to that. Thank you so much, guys.
Brilliant panel. Thank you.
Thanks.